There's currently no studies directly comparing side delt hypertrophy between different exercises, but there are multiple studies using what we may call indirect measurements that allow us to estimate the possible effect of various exercises. These indirect measurements are quite controversial. Throughout detailing this research and ranking the various exercises, we will be simplifying things and not entirely describing the nuances and limitations of the research used. This will make the spirit of scientific accuracy sad. But don't worry, near the end of the video I'll clear up the shortcomings of the data. Let's start with classic dumbbell lateral raises. There are many different ways they can be performed, but let's first dissect normal lateral raises, which involve us performing shoulder abduction straight out to our sides up to around 90 degrees with the shoulder neutrally rotated. The side delt's main function is shoulder abduction. Here's a graph depicting its leverage throughout shoulder abduction. Let me explain what leverage is, as it's something that will be mentioned a few times in this video. Leverage, in this case, refers to a muscle's moment arm. To figure this out, we draw the line of action of a muscle and a parallel line through the center of the joint it moves. Then we calculate the perpendicular distance between the two. This is the muscle's moment arm. Simply put, muscles with larger moment arms have greater mechanical advantage and potential to generate joint torque. There's evidence that the muscles with the best leverage throughout a movement are highly recruited by the nervous system. Since the side delts have great leverage for shoulder abduction, it's no surprise normal lateral raises are going to be great for growing them. But does this mean we should put them into S tier? Possibly not. Dumbbell lateral raises are most challenging when the arm is parallel to the ground. There are many factors that theoretically contribute to what the hardest point in an exercise is, but we can generally say nearly all freeweight exercises tend to be hardest when the external moment arm is the longest. This concept is pretty interesting and worth understanding more as it relates to some different dumbbell lateral raise variations we'll mention soon. To calculate the external moment arm, it's comparable to a muscle's moment arm, but in this case, we draw the line of weight and a parallel line through the joint center. Then we calculate the perpendicular distance between them. If we do this throughout the range of motion of these exercises, we can see where the hardest point will approximately be. A simple trick is to see where the moving segment is parallel to the ground, as that will be the point when the external moment arm is the longest. Is it bad that normal lateral raises are hardest with the arms parallel to the ground? I wouldn't say it's bad, but it may be unideal. At this position, the side delts are at moderately short lengths. You might be aware that emerging research suggests challenging muscles at longer lengths may build overall more muscle. For this reason, these lateral raises may fall short of S tier, so we'll drop it into A tier. Some say instead of performing normal lateral raises straight out to your sides in what's known as the frontal plane, performing them slightly in front in what we call the scapular plane could be superior. However, I'm not convinced this is true. The relative differences in leverages between muscles for shoulder abduction in the frontal and scapular plane isn't all that different. If anything, there may be a bit more front delts in scapular plane abduction. There's also this study finding that side delt activity was not that different between shoulder abduction in the frontal and scapular planes. The numbers slightly favor the frontal plane, but as the authors note, this small difference may not be meaningful. Plus, the study didn't involve typical lateral raises. For now, go with your preference. Another thing I'm unconvinced about is achieving greater stability. Some say that seated lateral raises or leaning against the bench leads to greater muscle fiber recruitment and tension thanks to improved stability. There is indeed research suggesting greater stability can enhance fiber recruitment and tension, but this research is not necessarily generalizable to what we care about. For example, this study varied stability levels on a leg extension by strapping down the legs and torso. When looking at research more relatable, greater stability isn't always better. For example, freeweight exercises such as back squats are more unstable than hack squats, yet muscle growth seems to be similar. Additionally, there's this study comparing seated to standing overhead presses, and deltoid activity wasn't any better when seated. Of course, if you like extra stability, that's absolutely fine. Some find it easier to maintain their desired technique with more stability, but it is still absolutely possible to have excellent technique with standing exercises.